Right, believe it or not, it is January. The transfer window is open. You wouldn't know it because Celtic have barely been linked to anyone, or anyone we have been linked with has gone to another team. Probably says quite a lot about the situation we find ourselves in at the moment. Bright Osai, Samuel, Ivan Toney, obviously in the summer, Alfie Doughty, potentially too. I think there's Mark McKenzie as well, John. The
He
list
went to
just goes
Belgium.
on.
Yeah, any promising name that we seem to be linked with that seems credible. I mean, we're linked with all sorts of players all the time, but every now and again you get a credible link to a player where it's like sustained reports and clubs are confirming bids, etc. I mean, it was confirmed by, for example, during the summer transfer window that we did make bids for Tony and Doughty. We didn't get Tony, obviously, he's away to Brentford now. Arsenal are scouting him, which just seems to be our luck. He scored like 18 goals in 22 games in the Championship. Doughty is apparently off to Stoke City after bids from us in the summer, and we didn't get that one over the line with a view to sign him on a pre-contract basis this month, by all accounts. And there's others. Mark McKenzie, I don't think we ever made an official bid for him, but he was certainly linked with Celtic for months via Sky Sports, Anthony Joseph at Sky Sports, and the player himself talked about, being up for a move to Scotland, following in Virgil van Dijk's footsteps as well. So these are all frustrations for me. But, it's been a very slow transfer window for Celtic, Jackie. Even with an urgent need in certain positions, is it Celtic's fault, or in your experience, is this just a slow transfer window in general across the board?
Yeah, I think it's, if you look, it's normally crazy time, isn't it? Teams getting in. I think what you're finding is more loans than actual transfers now. A lot of teams there for the money side of it more than anything. I'd be surprised if the club does any more work just now in this window. Maybe that there's been speaking about trying to get a winger in. Obviously that's been a position that they've been looking at, but just now I'd be surprised. If they're looking beyond the players towards the summer, until
I mean, a lot of the chat seems to be about loans and pre-contracts, even at Celtic just now. There's also, I sense a real shift in focus away from foreign-based players to British players. I'm not sure if that's a result of all the whole Brexit thing or what that is, but are you sensing that as well from the club? There's a lot of English-based players linked with Celtic these days.
Yeah, I think, I think you'll see a lot of that. In the cynic in me actually thinks that why some of the clubs abroad have taken some of the youngsters out of Scotland, out of Celtic. They've known that's coming because the value of them going back in. Look at guys like Sancho over in Dortmund.
Yeah.
There's talk about him going back to the UK, especially with the work permits and the way things will be with Brexit now, the point system. So, I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of young kids going out to European teams and then getting sold back for astronomical money later on.
Hamish, how are you feeling about the window so far, or the non-window?
Exactly. What is there to feel? There's just nothing happening at all. Jackie hit the nail on the head there when he said that that there's been virtually no chat at all, and it's not just Celtic though either. Other than Mesut Ozil going to Turkey, can you guys tell me any other actual transfers that have happened?
St Mirren signing Eamon Brophy has been the best deal of the window for me so far.
I know, it's crazy. That tells us all. But Jackie, why do you think, from a Celtic point of view, what can we read in? What can fans watching this read into the fact that it's been so quiet? Does it tell us, that the club don't have a long-term vision for Neil Lennon, that they don't want to give him more money? Could that be something fans could look into?
You can look at that. I think you look at the number of players they've got as well. We said in the summer that the club would only let players out they don't want to keep this season. I believe in the next window there'll be a lot of change. A lot of players, that if they're not going to commit to the club, then they'll be moved on next summer. They've got 18 months of their contract to go. But I don't see them letting anybody go at this moment. I don't think they can. In terms of getting players in, if you look at the squad, there's a lot of players there. There's no reserve games. Most of the ones that have been on the periphery or been involved at this, maybe in pre-season or all the way out on loan, they're all playing elsewhere. But there's still a lot of players in the building.
It's not even a good market just to sell in general. You look at Moussa Dembele moving from Lyon to Atletico. moves on loan initially, I think. So when you think about a player like Edouard, it's really difficult to even think of a team that would come up in with a big enough bid for us to tempt us away. I just can't see that happening at all. I think you're right. But I mean, again, I know you and Hamish talked about this on a previous video, but for me, there's an element of what is the point in maybe hanging on to a player like Olivier Cham? He clearly wants away. He's clearly not going to commit his future to the club. So if I was Celtic, I'd be looking to sell him in this window right now. He's not even playing at the moment. He's barely coming off the bench. I mean, Hamish, would you like to see him go? Would you let any other players you want out the door?
Well, I put forward the crazy suggestion of letting Edouard go, didn't I, on Saturday's video, and I was roundly laughed at. Many folk watching this might say that was the right thing, but I just looked at the fact that for me our season is over. I know the Scottish Cup's still there, but there's question marks over whether that's even going to be played. I thought if you could get a few million extra for someone like Edouard now as opposed to in the summer, that may be something worth doing. Maybe that's a bit extreme, but certainly in Cham, I'm trying to think of other players who are on the fringes. Could we loan out a few players to get them playing, because they're not going to get much game time at Celtic. I'm amazed that we haven't signed a centre back when you consider how bad we've been there this season, and the fact that Christopher Julien's going to miss virtually the rest of the season. I think Neil Lennon was quoted at the start of the month as saying that he wanted to get in a centre back. So you've put the fear up me, Jackie, by suggesting that we might not sell anyone. I'll be honest there. If we don't sign a centre back, I'll be worried.
I think things will be a lot clearer after the game Wednesday, and a lot of in terms of the squad, who's fit, who's not fit. And we don't play for another week after that, so still a bit of time between now and the window closing to get players in and out.
There's a wee tease of transition there, Hamish. A week of action at Celtic. I can barely wait. No, I agree that on the defender situation, I'm pretty worried about that as well. There's other positions too. I mean, we do need a winger. I know Mikey Johnston's coming back from injury, but he needs a bit of help there. He can't carry the team between now and May. Likewise, there's also these worries about the loan players. Even if Shane Duffy was playing amazing at the moment, he's only on loan. El Yunusi barely in the team again. He's kind of dropped out of things again, only on loan. We need a long-term view, but whether this is the window to do it, and I'm not too sure. Usually I'm really calling for Celtic to make the signings that they need to make, but it's a struggle. I can see the struggle out there for teams just now making the deals happen, and the market just seems so frozen and slow in general that maybe Celtic's money is best spent in the summer. I don't know. But it does worry me not bringing in the defender, because I do think that's an urgent need. We're shipping so many goals at the moment, so many set-piece goals. Getting someone in that can kind of organise that back line is a necessity for me. But I don't know if that comes from a new sign-in or whether that has to come from the coaching team or the players that are already there, Jackie. I mean, would a new defender bring that kind of boost to the Celtic back line? Would it kind of raise everyone's game, or is it just papering over cracks if you don't have the right coaching or the right system in place?
It would only work if it was a dominating centre half and he could, communicate well with the rest of the players, coming in here and lead by example. To be honest, I thought Duffy could have been that guy when he was linked and a big centre half commanding, but for one reason or another, it's not worked out for him. Since he came in. You look at the shape and the system of the team, is it just maybe not suit the way he plays? Because, he's not the most mobile, but into areas at the full-back areas, playing in a 3. But even the bread and butter stuff that you expect him to be good at, he's not been commanding. The Rangers game, the first Rangers game, the head of that one, he was onside. One that you expect him to be that man to put his head in there and be a leader.
So what do you make of like a kind of stopgap signing there, Jackie? People have linked Declan Gallagher to the club. I know he's a bit older and people have written that one off, but is he the kind of player that could do a job for us in the meantime while we try and figure out some kind of long-term future? I mean, not every signing needs to be with a view to resale and everything. Maybe he could do a job. What do you think of him?
Declan, I think he's improved over the last couple of years. Again, he went to Livingston, and I remember when he came out of Celtic as a young kid, like every young kid that comes out of the academy, very, very good in the ball, coming forward, comfortable in the ball, but not defensively minded. which you find with a lot of young players because they're used to having the ball all the time and dominating possession, but they don't actually get tested defensively. In fairness, Declan's went out and he's played. He came in and trained with us a little bit at Partick Thistle when he was on loan. When he was playing with Clyde, I think it was, and we let him come in and train with us full time. And he's played around. He went away to Livingston and played a number of games there and learned how to defend a lot better. He seems to have taken that side of his game along with his football, and he's turned into a decent centre half, and he's done well for himself in the Scotland setup.
I mean that's what was my thinking was really. It's kind of like his performances and the way he conducted himself with Scotland made me think he might be ready to step up and not be a star centre back for us, but at least do a squad job. What are your thoughts on those links, Hamish?
No, I've given my thoughts on the channel already, and let's just say I wasn't a massive fan of it. I've just got worries about John. You're saying you've got worries about us signing players this January, and I think that probably comes down to the recruitment and how poor it's been in general this season. And I realise that's a bit of a change in opinion from me, because when the window's shut, like a lot of fans, I thought it was a good window, but it's obviously not turned out to be that way. Jackie touches on Shane Duffy there, and Celtic fans were all saying that Shane Duffy would be the perfect signing, but I'm amazed that the scouting department couldn't work out that he would be exploited by teams, given the way we play, given the fact that he'd have the ball at his feet so often. I'm amazed that the scouting department couldn't see that, and that's what gives me the fear for this month, is that if they're going to be tasked with signing another centre back, I'd almost just rather see it out this month. Maybe something changes in the summer, we end up with something new recruitment wise, a new manager maybe brings in his own man, there's a change at the club, and we can build properly. I almost feel like we'd just be wasting money, throwing good money after bad if we do it this month.
What about recalling Jack Hendry? He's doing well for himself in Belgium. He was named in the Belgian team of the week this week, Hamish. He's getting plaudits from his manager saying he's the best defender in Belgium. If that was a young 25-year-old Belgian, would be crying out for him, signing him. No?
Stranger things have happened than players who have failed doing it in the end. Remember Charlie Mulgrew? Now, I know he had to leave the club, but he came back and was an important player for us, but not convinced that Jack Hendry is ever the answer for Celtic defensively. So yeah, we've got 10 days or something. Jackie reckons that we're probably unlikely, without putting words in your mouth, unlikely maybe to see business. Jackie, is that what you're saying?
I think if there is, it'll probably be a kind of winger. They would be trying to get a winger in. I'd be surprised if they get another centre back in. Maybe if Duffy was going back and it freed up that money, but again, like you said, you're just throwing more and more at it in that position. I think they have enough there to work with, but it has to suit the shape of the team. The two full backs still play like they're wing backs, and that can leave the centre halves quite vulnerable for counter attacks, what we've seen as well. So I think it's just a case of working, make sure as a back four, they work as a back four. If Lack's out way up the left hand side, or Taylor, then Frimpong's tucking in, and vice versa, and that's something there that the two centre backs, if it's Duffy or Ayer or whoever, they're not isolated. With 3 or 4 players breaking on them.
Yeah, I think that sums it up for me. It's more of a coaching issue than a recruitment issue this season.
And I mean, we can't really be hypocritical either. I mean, I think me and Hamish have certainly called on Stephen Welsh getting more opportunities. So if not signing a centre half leads to more games for him, then I'd be happy. Just what I don't want to see is persisting with Beaton and Duffy. I just don't think that's helping anyone at the moment.
What's your official prediction, John, for who's going to come in?
I like that. I think we'll sign a winger. I think it's obvious we're after a winger. So I hope we sign one. It's less obvious we're after a centre half. There's not been much chat of that over the last couple of weeks, though. The Julian injury might change things and it might just take a wee while for the club to get up to speed when whatever shortlist they have. I know John Kennedy admitted they had an interest in Filip Benkovic, but he's away to Belgium as well. So
he's another one for the list.
Another one for the list. So I believe the club are looking, but yeah, it's only going to be 1 or 2, and I don't think it's going to be anything blockbuster. It's going to be someone who's functional, I think, which is arguably what we need.
Yeah.
I'd take that at the moment.
Yeah, probably me too. 10 days to go in the transfer window. We will have more videos between now and the start of February if anything does come up, but it's not looking good at the moment.